Hello, I'm Jay Hyland, archivist at the Jewish Museum Milwaukee, and today I'd like to share the story with you of Jewish Family Services, which is one of the oldest nonprofit organizations in the state and whose roots date back to 1867. Jewish Family Services began as the Hebrew Relief Society. Here, you'll see three men who were heavily involved in those first few years. From left to right, Elias Friend, L. Rinskoff, and David Adler. During those early years, there were no professional staff, and it was strictly volunteer driven. In an early history about the organization, Norman Gill wrote about those early years, quote, "Relief was a very simple matter. The president of the association was also superintendent, investigator, caseworker, and collector of the funds. There were no regular dues and no annual drives. Whenever any form of distress occurred, the president made his own personal drive by visiting each family and collecting for that particular case. All assistance given was personal and quick." In 1889, the organization changed its name from the Hebrew Relief Society to the Hebrew Relief Association. In fact, we have a certificate from that time period on display in our permanent gallery here at the Jewish Museum, Milwaukee. The name change reflected an expanding mission of the organization to help Jewish refugees from Russia and other European countries. The organization's bylaws at the time required that each board member personally visit the poor and provide relief. In this 1900 annual report that you're looking at here, it states that nearly 600 people had applied for relief that year, mainly those coming from Russia or Poland, with President Morris Miller urging Milwaukee's Jewish community to, quote, "hold up each other's hands, give to each other the wealth of our experience, and let us labor together where each alone is unequal to the task." By 1919, the organization had a professional staff member, and the superintendent recommended that the Relief Association develop into an agency of service and family welfare work instead of just mere relief giving, saying that the future of any Jewish relief society lies in that field of personal service. The influenza pandemic during this time resulted in the creation of a medical clinic and a dental clinic. And once again, another name change to the Jewish Social Service Association in 1921. Pictured here, you'll see the Saul Fine Memorial Dental Clinic, which was established through a generous grant from the S. Fine Brothers Clothing Company in memory of their founder, Saul Fine, who was Hebrew Relief Association president in 1905 and active on the board and in the organization for many, many years. In 1922 alone, the medical and dental clinics helped over 2,000 people with various physical ailments or dental work that needed to be done. From 1933 until 1965, the organization was led by Rebecca Tenenbaum, seen here in this photo from 1964. Rebecca is in the front row at the bottom left. And in this particular photo, she's helping commemorate the Jewish Family Services opening a new residential treatment center for adolescent teens. And this is a group of people meeting to discuss that particular resolution, including Julie Atkins, Nathan Wahlberg, Phil Barnett, and Albert Descher. During Rebecca's years of service, she was one of the few women who led professional organizations in the city during this time. And in 1948, the organization changed its name again to the Jewish Family and Children's Service, which represented their expansion of services to children through a merger with the Milwaukee Jewish Children's Home. Here you're looking at the 1951-1952 annual report, which discussed the challenges that occurred after World War II, helping resettle those persons from the displaced persons camps, saying that the organization's mission was, quote, "Family service will remain the core of our agency's services. The future will demand even greater efforts in preventive service and a more active role in family life education. We reaffirm our belief in the worth and dignity of each individual and in his right to develop to his highest capacity." After Rebecca's many years of service, Ralph Sherman became executive director in 1966 and served until 1989. During Ralph's leadership, there were many accomplishments, including the Jewish Family Services grew from 8 professional staff members to 45 employees by the time Ralph had retired in 1989. And among his many accomplishments, which included creating an older adults and volunteer services department, programs to serve refugees from the Soviet Union, a child development center, and a special needs program, which prior to this group had really not been serviced by the agency. In an article that appeared in the Wisconsin Jewish Chronicle around the time of Sherman's retirement, colleague Louise Abrams Yaffe noted that at JFS, volunteers work in a way that's very different from most kinds of volunteer involvement. The staff came to trust the volunteers as co-workers who extend what the professionals could do, performing research projects and other support services. In 1973, the first professional volunteer coordinator established the Volunteer Services Department at Jewish Family Services. This next picture that you're looking at is a group of women who volunteered in the late 1960s. And this picture in October of 1966 shows them stuffing and addressing envelopes for an upcoming family living conference that discussed the pressures on children and how daily life affects them and their families. Some of the ladies pictured here include Joyce Perlson, Rachel Lefko, Myrna Cohn, Ruth Orenstein, and Bernice Pekarsky. In the next photo that you'll see here, in 1967, the Jewish community was represented by Stella Joff, a longtime supervisor and casework director in Jewish Family Services, who in these pictures here is greeting the first immigrant to arrive in Milwaukee from an Eastern European country in many years. You'll see the picture on the left. Stella is the woman on the right, shaking hands with a man who, in the picture on the second picture on the right, is embracing his sister, who has not seen her brother since the Nazi occupation and his confinement in an extermination camp. Everyone identified on the picture on the left is sister and brother, along with the brother-in-law and Stella at Milwaukee's Mitchell International Airport. If anyone happens to know the names of the other people in the photo besides Stella, please let us know. United Hebrew Immigrant Aid Service, the overseas agency for Jewish immigration, had worked with Jewish Family Services in transporting and resettling people, enabling family members to join one another. One quote that appeared in the Chronicle at the time stated that work that these agencies perform does not culminate a series of events. It helps to commence life anew. This next photo that you'll see here is of Edith Klein. And in 1974, Edith Klein, because of her involvement with the resettlement program at Jewish Family Services, began collecting clothing and household items in her garage and giving them to recent immigrants from the Soviet Union and Southeast Asia. As more families came, along with more donations, her garage grew to be too small. Under the auspices of Jewish Family Services and with the help of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, the Share Shop was born, and Edith eventually had a permanent site in the lower level of the Golda Meir House on Prospect Avenue. Here you see Edith at the shop. The Share Shop served everyone from Jewish families, Catholic, Protestant, Vietnamese, Russian, and Hungarian, and also helped serve other agencies, including the Boys and Girls Club, Next Door Foundation, Family Crisis Center, the Horizon House, and the Community Baptist Church. In an article about discussing Edith and her work, she remarked, "As Jews, we care about everyone. Individuals and organizations throughout the city came to the Share Shop for everything from coats and mittens for children to job interview clothing for men and women and shelters to basic household items for refugees." Edith would continue running the Share Shop well into her 80s, only concluding her work in 2000 when the difficult decision was made to close the space. As Elliot Lubar, Jewish Family Services Executive Vice President at the time, noted, JFS is proud of the Share Shop's impact on Milwaukee's community and of Edith Klein and her determination to provide for those in need. In 1977, Jewish Family Services established a child care and daycare center with the Jewish Community Center. Later, this became known as the Child Development Center and served about 100 kids yearly until merging with the Jewish Community Center in 2004. And there you see some of the kids involved in the program there during the 1990s. During Ralph Sherman's tenure, the name of the organization was again changed in 1987 to Jewish Family Services, which remains the name today. Although the organization's name has changed through the years, it has survived and thrived in the present by helping support many different people, including orphans, the elderly, refugees, new mothers, preschoolers, adolescents, individuals with special needs, and many, many others. Under the able leadership of Elliot Lubar, Sylvan Liebman, and current President and CEO John Yobs, JFS continues to provide support to approximately 2,500 individuals per year in many, many different ways. Now, these are just a few of the important ways JFS has contributed to the community at large, and there are so many more. I would encourage you to visit their website at jfsmilw.org to learn more about what they are doing today and about the organization's fascinating history. Many thanks to our Museum Moments supporter, Robin Cohn, for supporting these moments. And if you'd like to learn more about the museum's upcoming programs, visit jewishmuseummilwaukee.org. Thank you.